It's April 13th, and the strange side of history awaits. Today, we have a one-man war in the dead of night, a mission on the edge of disaster, and a queen shrouded by power, influence, and the whispers of poison. Let's begin. On April 13th, 1945, in the dying shadows of World War II, a single soldier stepped into the city that should have swallowed him whole. His name was Leo Major, and in the early hours, his only companion had been killed. The mission should have ended there, but it didn't. Instead, Major kept moving, alone, under the cover of darkness. He entered the streets of Savalua. What followed felt less like warfare and more like something calculated, almost unreal. He fired his submachine gun into the silence, hurling grenades into empty streets and vanishing before anyone could find him. Again and again, always moving, always unseen. To the German forces inside the city, it sounded like an army had arrived, but there was no army, it was only him. At one point, he walked into a cafe, captured 8 armed soldiers, forcing them to surrender through sheer presence. Witnesses later described the confusion spreading like a sickness. Orders broke down and panic took hold. By morning, the German garrison was gone. They had fled from a single man, and somewhere in the chaos, 50,000 civilians were freed without a full-scale battle. What makes it even stranger is Major had lost his left eye months earlier during D-Day. When asked how he continued to fight, he gave a simple answer. He only needed one eye to shoot. For what happened that night, he was awarded the Distinguished Conduct Medal. But in that city, they remember the night the city was liberated by a single man. On April 13th, 1970, something went wrong 200,000 miles from Earth. It was the Apollo 13 mission, and at first, everything seemed routine. Then, 55 hours into the flight, a simple command was given: stir the oxygen tanks. Seconds later, the spacecraft shuddered. Inside, wires damaged long before launch ignited. Oxygen tank number 2 exploded, and in an instant, the moon mission became a fight to stay alive. Houston, we have a problem, were the words that came from Jack Swigert, but the reality was far worse than anyone understood. Oxygen was leaking into space, and power was dying. The command module Odyssey was going dark. Commander Jim Lovell and astronaut Fred Hayes were forced into an unthinkable decision: abandon their ship and hide inside the lunar module, a craft never meant to sustain them for long. It became their lifeboat. Inside, temperatures dropped close to freezing, water was rationed to near nothing, and slowly and invisibly, carbon dioxide began to rise, poisoning the air. In space, the crew built crude air filters from scraps. For days, they drifted in silence on the balance of death, no rescue, no margin for error. Yet, against everything that should have ended, they came home, and NASA would later call it a successful failure. What would scare you more, the explosions or the slow realization that your oxygen is running out? On April 13th, 1519, a child was born into power and whispers that would follow her for centuries. Her name was Catherine de Medici. She arrived from Florence to the French court as a young bride, bringing her strange customs: forks at tables, exotic foods, perfume unlike anything France had ever known. At first, she seemed harmless, even elegant, but the court would soon learn nothing about Catherine was ever simple. Behind the velvet curtain and the candlelight feasts, France was unraveling. Religious wars spread like a slow infection. Kings rose and fell, and Catherine remained, watching and calculating. She became queen, then regent, then something far more unsettling. They said she had a network of women who moved silently through the court, gathering secrets from powerful men. They kept perfumes, not just for beauty, but for something darker: poison. Rumors spread of gloves, beautiful, delicately scented, and deadly to the touch, but no one could prove it. Catherine stood in the center of it all, mother of 3 kings, survivor of chaos, architect of power in a kingdom tearing itself apart. To some, she was a stabilizing force. To others, she was something far more dangerous, someone they called the Black Queen. In a court full of whispers, sometimes the most dangerous weapon isn't a blade, it's trust. Another day, another strange bite from history. Like, comment, and subscribe. Your next eerie dose is just a day away.